Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing details. Today, we are discussing the Chopard L.U.C. Chopard 1937 Classic. This is a model that debuted in 2013 as you see it here. 1937 was the year that Chopard was moved from the Jura to Geneva. So that was done by Paul-André Chopard. It was a landmark for the company, which would go on to be purchased by the Schäufele family out of Geneva. Of course, the Schäufele's German jewelers from Pforzheim are the current proprietors of Chopard. So the entire history of the brand caught up in this model. In rose gold, it measures 42 millimeters in diameter, large for a dress watch, though thin at 10.7 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, 50.8 millimeters with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. You could see that the watch wears easily on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. I didn't expect this. Being very large for a dress watch, I thought, well, this one's going to be a little bit too large. But there is a curvature downward to the edge of the case that helps mitigate against fit issues on a smaller wrist. And you could see that the end links of the bracelet are pivoted, so you can pull them straight down out of the lugs. They don't want to flare and fight like an integrated bracelet sports watch. So my 16 centimeter circumference wrist wears this really nicely. Well, it doesn't look like there's much clearance from over the top. You could see when I do down the barrel, there is a little bit. So you could wear this watch on a 15 centimeter circumference wrist, and being very flat with a stepped case flank, it'll slide underneath the dress cuff. The watch is substantial. As you can see, we have a 5-link bracelet that alternates between polished and satinated links. The outer faces are vertically satinated, the tops are longitudinally satinated, and then if you look, you can see removable links are fixed by screws, and what Chopard does here is it uses white gold screws, which have more mechanical resilience against rounding off and deformation than rose gold screws. White gold is the hardest of the gold, so it has the best mechanical properties, which is also why white gold is used for the clasp internals. You can see those are all satinated. It is a double folding clasp. It is a friction fit double folding clasp, and it's nice and thin with a curved interior that nicely traces the arc of the underside of your wrist. Now, the watch is unconventionally finished. Not so much the bezel and the lug hoods, those are polished. It's the case band, which has a vertical satination, uncommon in the dress watch category. You can see that the lugs are blended, but they're also relatively short and stubby, tightly downturned to make this 42 millimeter watch fit better on a small wrist. It is part of the Louis-Ulysse Chopard series that was inaugurated with the birth of the Chopard movement manufacture in 1996. Surprisingly, with a screw-down crown and a 50-meter water resistance, this watch is suitable for surface swimming, which surprised me. We'll do a quick loom shot of the dial. Surprise, it's also luminescent, making this dress watch sportier than I ever imagined. Now, there is a sunburst silver dial, but unlike most watches, where the sunburst originates from a point under the hand, here you can see that the sunburst originates from the Louis-Ulysse Chopard signature. Of course, Louis-Ulysse Chopard, the founder of Chopard once upon a time. So the sunburst radiates out from here rather than here. Okay, what else is going on? Well, outboard, you can see that there's a lovely little railroad track with interspersed dart-style indices at the hours. We have applied rose gold Roman numerals radially arrayed with a watchmaker's 4 at 4 o'clock. We have hands that are sort of a fusion of Dauphine and baton, and so these are fusion-style hands. You can also see that we have a lovely counterweighted lancet-style seconds hand. The watch has 2 subsidiary setting modes, one of which is hacking seconds. You see how the watch seconds hand stops? Now you can set it to a reference time. We also have an intermediate position for the quick set date that allows you to cycle the date. The movement is exactly the same that you'll find in the Chopard Alpine Eagle sports watch, so it has all of the same mechanical and horological qualities. It is a fairly tough movement intended for sports watches. Turn it all over and you can see the caliber 01.01L. It is an automatic winder with a 60-hour power reserve, a 4 hertz beat rate. It pivots on 31 joules. It is adjusted chronometer style in 5 positions, and it is a COSC certified Swiss chronometer. It's also a nice large movement that well fills the case back of this large watch, so there's no dissonance between the size of the movement and the size of the case. It's nicely finished, though not as ornately as the Qualité Fleurier and Geneva Hallmark movements. You can see that the bevels are persuasive, likely started mechanically but finished manually, probably with a buffing tool. They are beautifully mirrored and rounded and quite handsome. We have Côte de Genève across the bridges, we have satination on the wheels, black polish on the screw heads, and then you can see the barrel underneath. The barrel bridge has been beautifully solarized. It's a nice thin fine movement, and again a 60-hour power reserve and a chronometer certification with hacking seconds and a quick set date. It's basically a more elegant alternative to something like an Alpine Eagle if you want a high-end manufacturer movement Chopard, but you don't necessarily want a Nautilus lookalike. This watch is 100% Chopard inside and out. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing.